بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الخلق أجمعين محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. The subject of fiqh, and we are discussing the prayer, and we reach to the point things which invalidate the prayers. Issue 1135. 12 things make prayers void, and they are called mubtilat. There are 12 things, if done, it will invalidate the prayers. We should know them, so in case we by mistake they happened, or by any reason, we should know that our prayer will be invalid. So at time of the prayers, we have to make sure that these 12 things will not happen. First, if any of the prerequisites of a prayer ceases to exist while one is in a prayer, like if he comes to know that the dress with which he has covered himself is a usurped one. We say at time of the prayer, we say that the place you pray, the dress you dress, has to be, for example, not usurped, or there should be no najasat in your dress or your body. If there is a blood maximum which is accepted or allowed, the blood should not be bigger than 1 dirham, which we say the size of the 1 phalanx of the thumb. If we have seen the bigger spot of a blood there, so naturally that will invalidate the prayer. If we see it at time of prayer, if we know it naturally in advance, we should clean the blood. But if we did not know, and while performing ruku' or sujood, we saw that there is a blood in our dress or in our feet, there is injury and we are not aware, or a bleeding happened from the nose, epistaxis, or similar things which happen. So these are all the conditions of the prayer, or prerequisites of the prayer. If one of them has been invalid, naturally the prayer will be void. Second, if a person intentionally or by mistake or uncontrollably commits an act which makes his wudu or ghusl void, like when urine comes out, even if it is discharged forgetfully or involuntarily after the last sajda of the prayers. But if a person is incontinent, unable to control urine or excretion, his prayers will not be void if he acts according to the rules explained early in the chapter of wudu. Similarly, if a woman sees blood of istihada during prayers, her prayer is not invalidated if she has acted according to the rules of istihada. You see, the la salata bighayri tahur, the prayer will not be accepted without tahara, which is either wudu or ghusl, or tayammum in certain situations. So if anything which invalidates our wudu or tahara naturally will invalidate the prayer, whether done intentionally or unintentionally, whether we did it voluntarily or involuntarily. In any case, then our wudu, if it is invalidated, then our prayer will be void. For example, at time of the prayer, one pass wind, naturally wudu will be invalid, so his prayer will be void. He has to stop the prayer. If somebody cannot control himself because of age or sickness, he is incontinent, and sometimes drops of urine comes out. Well, even 1 drop of urine if comes out, naturally his wudu will be void and his prayer ultimately will be void. Now he mentioned certain people who have special sickness, continuous sickness. They call it al-maslus wal-mabtun in Arabic, those who cannot control their urine or stool to come out, but regularly they cannot control it. So he mentioned the rules and regulations of them at the issues of wudu, that for them it is okay. Well, he has to let us say, put a pad so that his dress, his body will not be najis, and if drops of water, of urine will come out, that will not invalidate his prayer, but he has, let us say, to perform wudu for each prayer and pray fast, not to delay it, so they have special conditions because they cannot control themselves because of sickness. Always they had that problem. But if sometimes happens, not continuous incontinence, some people, if they cough, sometimes they get a drop of urine coming out, for example. They cannot control themselves because the muscles are not very strong, because of age or disease or sickness. The muscles get relaxed easily, so cannot control the urine. So a drop will come. Some of people have that problem. Now, if that happens at time of the prayer, what he said, well, his prayer will be void because his wudu is void and his prayer is void. So he has to go clean himself and perform wudu again and come back and pray again. So this is the second thing which invalidates the prayers. Issue 1136. If a person sleeps involuntarily, not knowing whether he slept during prayer or afterwards, it will not be necessary for him to repeat the prayers, provided he knows that he has not performed anything less than the usual prayer. Well, sometimes, at time of morning prayer and one is very sleepy, well, he offered his prayer and then he slept and he doesn't know whether he performed full prayer or slept at time of the prayer or after the prayer, for example. Now, if he think that, he performed his full prayer, generally, and he don't know that the prayer was at time of the sleep was at time of the prayer, so his prayer is all right. Because he doesn't know, and he started the prayer, and he doesn't know he completed it or not, he slept, But if generally he said, well, it looks, I performed 2 rak'at for morning prayer, for example. I performed 2 rak'ats, whether he completed them or not, but generally he did the prayer. So he said, he take it as if he has completed his prayer and his prayer is all right. Well, that is why always we say that it is recommended that at night you sleep properly so that when you are awake for morning prayer, you have full energy and full awareness. So one perform wudu and offer the prayer with a proper awareness rather than he's feeling sleepy and he doesn't know whether he prayed properly or not. Issue 1137. If a person knows that he slept voluntarily but doubts whether he slept after or during the prayers, or if he forgot during the prayers that he was praying and fell asleep, his prayers will be valid if the provision stated above is fulfilled. Now, this one depends on the issue 1136, the previous issue. So if he knows that he slept voluntarily, but he doesn't know he slept at time of the prayer or after the prayer. Now, because he prayed, so I take it granted as his prayer was valid, because he started the prayer, he prayed. He's not sure that it was at time of the prayer that he slept. Well, if he forgot during the prayer that he was praying and fell asleep, now he doesn't know whether he completed the prayer or not at time, middle of the prayer. Of course, if middle of the prayer he sleep, his prayer is void at middle of the prayer. But he forgot whether he completed it or not, because he already slept. He doesn't know. He completed 2 rak'ats, for example, of morning prayer he slept, or it was after the first rak'at. He doesn't know. But he started the prayer. So because he started the prayer, take it granted as his prayer is all right. His prayer is valid. So this depends on the previous issue with those conditions. Issue 1138, if a person wakes up in sajda and doubts whether he is in the sajda of the prayer or in the sajda of shukr, sajda for praising Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala after the prayer, he should pray again if he slept involuntarily. But if he slept intentionally and feels that he probably slept during the sajda of a prayer due to carelessness, his prayer are valid. Yeah, so sometimes, one doubt whether it was the sajda of the prayer or sajda of shukr. But in that case, we say if he slept involuntarily, then and he doesn't know, so he take it as his prayer is all right. But if he slept voluntarily and he has doubt, that he was, he doesn't know which one it was, you say again, it was taken as a granted that his prayer is all right because he doesn't know his sleeping was at time of the prayer. So his prayer may be all right because already he started the prayer and he was praying and it was a time of sujood. So he doesn't know exactly it was at the middle of the prayer. Now we come to the third point of things invalidate the prayer. If a person folds his hands as a mark of humility and reverence, his prayers will be void. But this is based on a precautionary rule. However, there is no doubt about it being haram if it is done believing that it is ordained by Sharia. You see, at time of the prayer, according to some fiqh of our Sunni brothers, they said you have to put your hands on the abdomen on different ways, the right on the left, or then below the umbilicus or above the umbilicus. They have some details about it. But because this is bid'ah, is not mentioned by the Prophet, and it was done according to the history at time of the second Caliph Umar ibn al-Khattab. He saw the captives who came from Iran standing in this way, and he asked why they are standing like this. They told him it is their habit to stand like this as respect to their rulers and kings. He said, okay, if that is better and more respect, then why not we respect our Lord and we stand in that way? Naturally, according to Sharia, Umar has no right to make any rule and regulations in Islam. Whatever the Holy Prophet Muhammad ﷺ made lawful will remain lawful till day of judgment, and whatever he made unlawful will remain unlawful till the day of judgment. So Umar has no right to introduce his own view. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knew that there is more respect in this way, Allah would have asked the Muslim to pray in that way. If the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam knew that this is more respect in front of Allah, he would ask the Muslims to pray in this way. So since they were not asked, and it is mustahab to put your hand extended on your thigh, it has been mentioned before, so nobody has the right to add anything to the prayer. Now, if somebody put his hands on his belly and he said that this is as a respect in the prayer, so actually he is adding some new thing, new act to the prayer. That is why he say, first of all, it is haram. Secondly, as a precautionary measure, it will invalidate the prayer. So one should avoid that at time of the prayer. Issue 1139, there is no harm if a person places one hand on another forgetfully or due to helplessness or taqiyya or for some other purposes like scratching, etc. He mentioned that the idea of putting the hand above others on the abdomen is because it is respect for that idea. So then that will be haram and will, according to precaution, will invalidate the prayer. Now, if somebody putting his hand, he forgot, for example, or he has pain in abdomen and put his hand just to catch his abdomen because of pain, for example, or scratching his abdomen, for example. Or taqiyya, he's in a place where enemies are there, and if they look to him praying with extended hand, they will harm him. Unfortunately, in many places of the world, still peoples are prejudiced and they do not observe human rights, and then they attack others if they are following a different sect. Unfortunately, that case is still existing, so the people are afraid that they will be in trouble. So if they do it for that reason, then it is okay, because that has different rules and regulations. But if it is done purposely with the intention that there is more respect in that way, and it is recommended or it is obligatory, so this becomes haram, and the prayer as a precaution will be void. The fourth point, the fourth thing which invalidates prayers, is to say Ameen after Surah Al-Hamd. This rule, when applied to one praying individually, is based on ihtiyat. But if someone utters it believing that it has been ordained by Sharia, it is haram. There is no harm if someone utters it erroneously or under taqiyya. Well, to say any extra word at time of the prayer will invalidate the prayer. To say Ameen, and some people do a mistake, they said Ameen with shadda. Ameen is, the meaning is wrong, because Amma in Arabic means he came. Yeah, Ameen means we are coming, which has no meaning here. It should be Ameen. Ameen means, oh Allah, we accept this prayer. It is type of prayer that accept this prayer. Well, that word again was added to the prayer, was not said by the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And what is recommended is to say after ending Surah Al-Hamd, to say Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, not to say Ameen. Why? Because Ameen is about any prayer, and you say, oh my God, Ameen, that I accept that prayer. But at time of Salat, we are not having supplication to say Ameen. When you say Ihdina Sirata al-Mustaqim, Sirata al-Ladina an'amta alayhim, Ghayr al-Maghdubi alayhim wal-Dhalleen, we are not having supplication, we are reciting Holy Quran. So Ameen has no meaning here. Ameen when there is supplication. Prayer in sense of supplication, not Salat. Here we are reciting Holy Quran in Salat. So Ameen has no meaning here to say Ameen. So if it is said, uttered, naturally an additional word is added to the prayer, and that will invalidate the prayer. And to believe that it is recommended because it is not recommended and it will invalidate the prayer is also haram. So haram to believe and haram to invalidate your prayer by saying it. But for situation of taqiyya, as you said, in taqiyya, well, if you have to say it, otherwise the people around you are enemies and they will harm you and you will get trouble, okay, you can save yourself and say it, but you do not believe in it in that case. We come to fifth. The fifth thing which invalidates prayers is to turn away from Qibla without any excuse. But if there is an excuse like forgetting or an external force like a strong wind blowing, which turns him away from the Qibla, his prayer will be valid if he has not deviated towards his right or his left. But it is necessary that he returns to the direction of Qibla as soon as the excuse disappears. And if he turned away towards right or left side, regardless of whether his back is toward Qibla or not, due to forgetting, he should pray again towards Qibla as soon as he remembers. If there is time left, even for one rak'at. But if there is no time for even one rak'at at his disposal, then he should continue with the same prayer towards Qibla, and he will not have to give any qada for that. Similar rule applies to the one who has deviated because of the external force. Now, sometimes, one is praying in open ground and severe air is flowing, so he may turn his direction. Say, as long as he did not turn to his back, it is okay. If he turned his face, well, he said, if by force toward the right or left, not toward the back. If by force was done, then he may stop saying and then turn toward Qibla and continue his prayer, because that was involuntary by force. Or if people are passing in a mosque and somebody hit him and he turned, his face toward right and left. So in that case, but if he turned toward the back, then that is different. The back, then the prayer will be void. Well, how much you are allowed to deviate your face? So that is basically the question. Some said you turn little, it is okay. But to turn completely toward right or to turn completely toward left voluntarily is not allowed. Well, maybe some of the ulama said still is allowed, but according to Ayatullah Al-Sistani, not allowed to be done voluntarily. But if involuntarily happened, you may stop and turn your face. And if it happened voluntarily, you have to do the prayer again, unless the time for the prayer is not there, and even for one rak'at to pray is no time. Like morning prayer and you are very late, or it is Asr prayer and you are very late, for example, then that is a different issue. So turning toward right or left, let us say intentionally should not be done. Issue 1140. If a person turns his head away from Qibla while his body remains facing Qibla, and if with that turning of the head he is able to see behind partly, he will be considered to have deviated from Qibla, and he will follow the rule explained above. But if the turning of head is so minimal that it can be said that his front part of the body is toward Qibla, then his prayers will be valid, though it is makruh to do such thing. So now, to turn too much that you can see the back, then as it was said, should not be done intentionally in that way. Otherwise, if you are turning, still your body is not turning, it's only the face is turning. But if you turn with all your body, then you are not facing Qibla. That is not allowed. He's talking about the face only, the head is moving. Little turning is okay, but you say it is makruh. One should always look toward Qibla, and even little turning should not be done. That is makruh. We come to the sixth. The sixth thing which invalidates prayers is to talk even by uttering a single word consisting of one single letter which has a meaning or denotes something. For example, one letter, qa in Arabic, means protect yourself. Or if someone asked a person who is praying as to which is the second letter of Arabic alphabet, and he said simply ba. But if the utterance is meaningless, then if it constitutes two or more letters, his prayers will be void based on precaution. You see, any single extra word at time of the prayer will invalidate the prayer, to say any word. But sometimes if you say one letter, the letter may have meaning, may have no meaning. Like in Arabic when you say qay, from waqa, yaqi, qay, mean protected himself, he protect himself, and when you order him, you say protect yourself. So it's qay, though it is one letter, but it is a verb of order than protect yourself, do not harm yourself, be careful. It has a meaning. So if it has a meaning, again it will invalidate the prayer. And if you say sometime, like you said, he asks you what is the second letter in Arabic alphabet, and you say ba, instead of b, alif, and hamza, so it becomes 3 words. Ba, b, a. So it is 3 letters, you know. So that is extra word. It become meaning. So additional word to be done, that is not allowed at time of the prayer, and that is why Ameen, to say it is a word which invalidates the prayer, as we mentioned before. Issue 1141. If a person forgetfully utters a word consisting of one or more letters, but that word may carry some meaning, his prayers does not become void, but as a precaution, it is necessary that after the prayers you should perform sajdatul saw, as will be explained later. Now, here in this issue, you say forgetfully, not intentionally. The issue before, if intentionally he utter a word, that will invalidate the prayer. But if by mistake somebody asks him something, you say, wait, and then he remembered that he's praying, how he told him wait, for example. Or ask somebody, go, but then he remembered that, well, he time of prayer, how he asked go, you know. Well, sometimes by mistake, one forget and may utter a word. Say by mistake is okay, will not invalidate the prayer. To say it intentionally will invalidate the prayer. But here, because you have added something to the prayer, so you need sajdatay saw at the end of the prayer. The details of sajdatay saw will come in the future. Issue 1142. There is no harm in coughing, belching during the prayers, and as an obligatory precaution, he should not intentionally heave a sigh. If someone utters oh or ah purposely, his prayer will be void, you know. This sometimes one may say because of pain, you know, so become a word, you know, a and ha, you know, so that intentionally should not be done. Otherwise, if he say it intentionally, his prayer is void. Or if he has pain and he say because of pain, then again he uttered an extra word, and will invalidate the prayer. But if you cough as coughing or belching, well, coughing, this is not a word, not A-H, is not a word, no, it is just coughing. Nobody will say it is a word. So he said it is all right, because some people might argue that when you cough, say A-H, like, but he said no, this coughing is not really a word. But if somebody say yeah, is a word, or is a word, that should be, but simple coughing, that is okay. Issue 1143. If a person utters a word with the object of dhikr, like if he says Allahu Akbar and raises his voice to indicate something, there is no harm in it. In fact, there is no harm if he utters dhikr with the knowledge that it will convey something to one who hears it. But if there is no intention of dhikr, or if it is done with dual purpose, then there is ishkal. So here, to remember Allah at any time is okay. So at time of the prayer, to remember Allah, that is fine, no problem. But it should be with the intention of dhikr, remembering Allah. Like you say, Allahu Akbar. Now, sometimes you say dhikr, Allahu Akbar, and you raise your voice with dhikr, so the people will realize that you are at time of the prayer. For example, they should not call you if telephone is ringing or somebody knocking the door, then he knows that you are raising your voice. He knows that you are offering the prayer. But then the intention of dhikr should be for sake of Allah. Though you raise your voice, suppose at time of dhuhr, and you cannot raise your voice with Surah Al-Hamd. You are reciting Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, and somebody knocked the door or called you or something. So you have to inform him in a way that you are at time of the prayer. So you say dhikr Allahu Akbar in name of Allah, but you can say it loudly, because this is not dhikr of the first rak'at, Surah Al-Hamd. So you can say it loudly. So he said, if it is done as a dhikr with that intention, there is no harm. But if it is done with intention only to tell the people something, then this is not dhikr qurbatan ala Allah ta'ala. So will be problem. So ishkal means will maybe your prayer is void, Even with dual intention, that your intention of dhikr and something else, there should be no shirk in your intention. It should be for sake of Allah, 100%. Okay, raising your voice is for sake of people to know, but dhikr itself is for remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The word, when it said then there is ishkal means there is a problem with it, and it means that is fatwa that it will void your prayers, or you have to repeat it, or maybe do the taqlid of somebody else. That so the word ishkal, problem, means you have to act accordingly, and but that is actually a term in fiqh, that the proofs the marja have why it will make the prayer void are probably both ways. Some said yes, some said no. There are a lot of discussions. So he used the term that there is ishkal, that no, we cannot accept that. It is okay. He said it is not okay. So there is a problem in it. That is the meaning ishkal. It is a questionable. So one should not do it. Issue 1144. There is no harm in reciting the Quran except the 4 verses which make sajda obligatory and which have been mentioned in the rules relating to qira'at, rule number 992, and in reciting du'as during the prayers. However, the recommended precaution is that one should not read du'as in any language other than Arabic. First of all, he said reciting the Holy Quran at time of the prayer anywhere is okay. So that is fine. Secondly, reciting dua, supplication, any time of the prayer is okay. There is no harm of it. But that supplication, is it necessary to be done in Arabic language, or you can have supplication in any other language? Suppose you can have a better supplication in English, in French, in Farsi, in Urdu. Is it allowed? Well, many ulama said it is allowed. Some said, well, as a precaution, not allowed. According to Ayatullah Al-Sistani, he said, as recommended a precaution, he said, should not be in other languages other than Arabic. But in Arabic, there is no problem at all. You can have supplication at time of ruku', at time of sujood, at time of qira'at, at time of qunut. Supplication, all are accepted. Issue 1145. If a person intentionally repeats parts of Surah Al-Hamd and other surah and the dhikr of prayers without intending them to be a part of the prayer, or as a matter of some precaution, there is no harm of it. Some people recite Surah Al-Hamd repeatedly. Well, either he has obsession or an ideas or that. As for obsessive people, probably it will come. Some of the ulama said because his duty is not to repeat, he is not allowed to repeat. If because of obsession, because the obsessive people, their duty is not to repeat. To recite one time, whether he think it is right or not right, he should not repeat. Because the obsessive people, he recite and he said, no, well, it is wrong. Recite it again. No, it came wrong. And recite third time, fourth time. Say, no, his duty is to recite one time, he should not repeat. But some people, because of ihtiyat, not obsession, just for precautionary measures, it might not be recited properly. Say for any reason or for mistake or for something, but as long as it is Holy Quran, there is no problem and it will not affect his prayer. Issue 1146. A person offering prayers should not greet anyone with salam. And if another person says salam to him, he should use the same words in reply without adding anything to it. For example, if someone say salamun alaykum, he should also say salamun alaykum in reply without adding wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. As an obligatory precaution, he should not utter alaykum or alayke as-salam before the word salamun min alayke as-salam. Should not say it. If the one who greeted him did not say so. In fact, the recommended precaution is that the reciprocation must fully conform with the way salam was initiated. So if he said salamun alaykum, the reply should be salamun alaykum. Or if he said assalamu alaykum, then the reply should be the same. Similarly, the reply to salamun alaykum will be salamun alayke. Salamun alayke will be salamun alayke. But if someone initiated salam saying alaykum as-salam, then the answer can be given in any of the phrases. Actually, some people, they see someone is offering a prayer, they should not greet him with salam, but by mistake or forgetfulness or being in rush or was not aware that he is offering a prayer, he may say salamun alaykum. Now, how to reply? If you reply salamun alaykum, you are adding a word at time of the prayer. So will that invalidate the prayer or not? Because replying salam is wajib. To start salam, to start greeting the people is recommended. But to reply is wajib. So now somebody told you salamun alaykum. If you do not reply him, you are making haram. So are you allowed to reply at time of the prayer? He said yes. You should reply him, but reply exactly the same way that he said. If he says salamun alaykum, you reply him salamun alaykum, not alaykum as-salam. If he say assalamu alaykum, you reply him assalamu alaykum, not salamun alaykum. If he say assalamu alayka or assalamu alayki if she is a woman, then the reply also say assalamu alayka or alayki if they're a woman. So the same thing, not to reply alaykum as-salam or by anything else. So that is the way to reply for salam. Issue 1147, it is necessary that the reply of salam is given at once, irrespective of whether one is praying or not, and if whether intentionally or due to forgetfulness, he delays a reply to the salam so much that if he gives a reply after the delay, it may not be reckoned to be a reply to that salam, then he should not reply if he is in prayer. And if he is not in prayer, it is not obligatory for him to reply. You see, the reply of the salam should be right away, not delayed. Not after 2 minutes you tell him, alaykum as-salam. When you say salamun alaykum, well, maybe in a few seconds you reply salamun alaykum. Or in other than the prayer, also it is wajib to reply the salam. So if at time of the prayer you delayed, you are not supposed to delay, but for any reason you delayed, then here you cannot say salam because already time has passed, And outside the prayer also, for any reason, if you were not aware or you forgot or for any reason, if you delayed it, there is no need that after 5 minutes you tell him, okay, alaykum as-salam. No. When the time has passed, then it has passed. I think sufficient till here for today, and inshallah we'll continue in the next session. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, wa sallallahu ala Muhammad wa alihi at-tahirin. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajjal farajahum.